Hey, and welcome to the research chapter. Research is something that we always do before we dive into the design of the project because we want to learn more and understand the problem that we're trying to solve for before we go ahead and design things. So on this video, I'm going to explore what are the key questions that our research is going to try to answer for, and then how are we going to do the research, and then how we're going to document it, and I'll give you a demo, as always, of me doing it myself. Now, before we dive into the actual research, I want to give you a quick note about research, because if you're consuming content about UX and design in general, you'll see a lot of information about conducting interviews and spending time with people and doing all kinds of field research and stuff like that. And I just want to clarify, these things are great, but those things are usually done by huge companies with big budgets. I assume, because you're taking this program with me right now, that you're working on projects that are smaller than 50K, right? Smaller than $50,000. And in projects that are smaller than $50,000, you probably don't have a budget, you don't have the resources, time, and people to go out into the field and interview people and spend time doing this. So all of the research that we're going to focus on in this chapter is research that you can do on your own from your computer. And that's my assumption, right? Because that's what we're doing. All right, so let's talk about the key research question that we're trying to answer for. The first question is, who are we building for? Who are we designing for? Who are these people? Obviously, people are very, very different in their preferences, in their abilities, in how they communicate. And we want to understand and be aligned with the person, because they're probably very different from our own, from ourselves, right? They're not necessarily ourselves. So we can't do just things that we love. We have to understand how they like to communicate and what resonates with them. The second thing is we want to understand how the competitive landscape looks like. And there's never a project that exists in a vacuum or a silo, right? We have a huge world with tons of alternatives. Consumers, customers always check what else is out there, and you're never talking to them as if they've never heard about a business or a solution ever. They always compare you with something. So you want to understand what are the other alternatives, because you want to make sure that first you don't look and talk exactly like your competitor. Our part of our work as designers is to differentiate ourselves, but you also want to understand what is acceptable and how usually people in this industry speak and communicate, because probably that's what's resonating with people. And the third thing that we want to dive into is kind of like best practices of how to achieve the goal. When we're building a website, we're usually not inventing, people have tried to do what we're doing probably before, whether this is selling or getting people to sign up or whatever we did. People all over the world have already tried to achieve that goal. We want to learn what works and what doesn't work, just so that we have more context and save us, a bunch of failures. If we can learn from other people's mistakes, they'll, move us forward faster. So we'll research about that as well. All right, so let's start diving into the first research question, which is, who are we building for? Now, the first thing that we want to cover, and those are really the basics, are called demographics. And those are kind of like the dry information about the people that we're solving for. Like, where are they based? How are they male, female? Are they young? Are they old? Their ethnicity, income, all these kind of like dry demographic info helps us to put ourselves in context and understand that we're designing the right thing. Most of these things, usually you'll interview your client and they'll know to give you more or less all of this information. But that is just the starting point, because what's really important to dive deeper into is the worldview of these people. Now, I want to explain the difference between demographic and worldview, because you can have people that, if you're looking at the demographic, might look like the same person, right? So let's take, for example, two males, 25-year-old from the same neighborhood making the same salary. On paper, if you only look at demographic, they might look like they are the same person, but in essence, one of them might be like a hardcore vegan, while the other one is, into whatever, smoking barbecue or something like that, which would make them very, very different in terms of their values, in terms of the brand that resonates with them and how they communicate. And so it's very, very important for us to learn more about the actual worldview and values and philosophies that guide the people that we're actually trying to communicate with. And just some more example about what is a worldview. So as I've mentioned, vegan, it can also be like a Democrat or somebody who buys luxury or somebody who really cares about the environment. All of these things that stem from their actual values are their worldviews, and it's very, very important to learn about them and document them and make sure that you took note of them. Now, the next thing that we want to learn when we try to communicate with people is how do they communicate? How do they speak, right? So people, different people speak very differently. So I'll give you a few examples. Some people curse a lot, and by cursing, it means something to them. To them, it's cool. To them, it's, no bullshit. That's just how they communicate. Other people, young people might use all kinds of shorthand like LOL or stuff like that in their communication because that's how they usually communicate. Other people might say things like, hello, darling, or use things like that, which might, again, if you're the cursing type of person, might really kind of discourage you. Oh my God, this darling brand is really not for me, and the other way around. So we want to learn more about how these people speak and communicate. The next thing we want to pay attention to is how do they use technology, right? Do they mostly work on mobile? What kind of a device are they working on? Are they using, a desktop? Do they have good internet connection, bad internet connection? Are they always up to date with the technology, or they're kind of like laggard in terms of always using, backwards or old software? The reason that we need to do this is because we're going to build, a web experience for them, and we want to understand their expectation and their actual abilities, right? If they're only working on the top equipment and they have super fast internet, we know that we can make something that is a little bit more complex and heavy and maybe use like really cool animation that might be heavier to load, but we know that these people can pull it off and still have a great experience. But if they're using old devices on slow internet connection, that's going to create just like a horrible experience for them. So we need to understand how they're using the internet because we're going to design an experience on the internet for them. All right, so how do we go ahead and gather all of this information? So the first source, as I've mentioned, and this will always kick off, it will be kind of like the kickoff stage for your research, is by talking to your customer, to your client, whether this is on the discovery call or on the strategy session. You're always gathering information, interviewing them about the people that they serve to learn more about this. Now, the next step when you're taking an active role into the research is going ahead and trying to read comments or reviews that these people wrote. If you have comments, either on social media or on the actual website or the product of the actual business, that can be amazing. But if they don't have anything up yet, you can maybe look at the competitors if these are the same people, if the business that you're trying to build for serve the exact same audience as a competitor. You can go to the competitor's website, reviews, social media to start reading the comments and seeing who these people are, what do they value, and how do they write. One thing that you can do as a bonus if you're working with a business that already has customers is sending a survey. This is something that is rather easy and simple, and so you can still do this under the budget, right? It's not like actually getting on the phone to interview people. You can really create a short survey for free, asking them questions about how do they describe this business? Why do they like this business? What other alternatives are they aware of? And by reading this will give you, again, context about what they value and how do they communicate. And the last kind of a bonus thing, if the client that you're building for already has a website and that website has analytics will also give you some information mainly about things like demographic and things like the technology that they're using. So if that's something that is available to you, make sure to make use of that and use that as a research tool. All right. The way that we document all of this information about the people that we are building for, we're going to use a tool that we call Personas to document that. And I want to show you what that is. Basically, in essence, it's just like organizing all of this information on a kind of a card, right? Where we take a photo that basically represent how this person looks like. It doesn't have to be a real customer. It can be a real customer, but it doesn't have to be. And then we put some kind of a fake name just to help us empathize. If you remember back to when we were talking about, the design thinking, the first thing that we're trying to do here is empathize with the people that we are designing for. So when we put all of that information, including an image, just because again, image really contributes to our emotional connection. And this persona card really helps you. If you keep this, you can either print this or put this somewhere visible. For both you and the client, it's really helpful to have this as a tool to always remember the people that you are designing to, and always throughout the design process asking, will Tina think this is useful? Is this something that she would actually use? Would she find this beautiful? Would she find this useful? So that is what we're gonna use. Now, one note is that many projects won't have like a single persona. Many projects will have multiple personas, and I'll give you an example. If you're designing for, let's say, an educational institution, they might be trying to obviously target students, so that would be one persona. They might also be targeting teachers so that they can hire them, so that would be a completely different persona. And then maybe also they are trying to target or communicate with donors, so that would be a third persona. Now, with everything, much like everything else that we talked about, in terms of hierarchy, you always need to prioritize, and it's okay to have multiple goals, but you can't always talk to 3 different people and appeal to them with the same design, with the same language, with the same, on one page. So it's okay to explore all of these personas and then discuss with your clients the priorities of who is the main persona that we're trying to communicate with. And also having all of these personas will help you to understand what kind of content do you need on your website. Do you need a special page for each persona on the website? That is possible, and that's when these personas are going to be very, very helpful for you. All right, let's dive into the second research question, which is the competitive landscape. So one thing that you're gonna do is you're gonna ask your client, who are your competitors? And usually they're going to mention local competitors, right? So if you're working now with a gym owner, they're probably going to mention the next door gym. And that is one thing that you definitely want to look at, but you also want to look at kind of the global market, right? So if you're talking with a small town gym and you're looking at all of the different gym alternatives within that small town, that's a good thing, but it's also worth exploring, what would a great gym looks like in New York or in London or in Paris. Take a look at who are the best in class on the international level, because that can give you, again, that can be very inspiring or set the bar very high in terms of what is possible and how do you become the best in the world. Now, let's say you have now assumed the list of both local and global competitors. You have the list. Now you want to start researching them and learning about them. So the first thing that you want to explore is, how do they look like, right? What brand colors do they use? What kind of graphic elements or imagery are they using? What kind of typography and layout they're using? Make sure you're grabbing tons of screenshots and you're remembering the links of their website. Make sure that it's all documented so that you'll be able to use it both for your own design and also for the conversation together with your clients. Now, the next thing that you want to pay attention to when you're visiting their websites is, how do they communicate in words, right? How do they call or describe their product or service? They might be using different names for it, and you want to make sure that you communicate clearly. Again, you want to be different, but also you want to work with what people, specifically the people that you're talking to, already have in their mind. You don't want them to learn something completely new. So it's helpful to know, what do they refer to their product or service? What do they refer to or call their category? And how do they describe the value proposition? You want to have all of that documented, again, so you can both differentiate and also work in context. You can also explore what kind of content they have on their website, right? Do they sell the products on their website? Do they show the team? Do they have their vision? Do they have a blog? All of these different things will also help you assess the content on the website that you're building right now, because as I've said, perhaps audience and customer in that specific niche already have kind of a set expectation. So that would help the discussion with your clients about the content as well. Now, one more thing that you want to do is you want to just use Google to see what comes up, right? So again, if you're in a small town gym owner, you can Google, small town name gym and just see who comes up first, because that would probably what a lot of potential customers are going to do, and you want to know what you're up against, right? So if you're doing a search for the category in general, gym owners, or like a gym, best gym, or gym in this particular town. Also, Google will give you suggestions, which is something fantastic, because that basically means here's what potential customers are searching for. And that can inform both how you structure your website, what kind of what kind of questions do you answer on your website, and in general, kind of that can contribute to understanding if you want to develop an SEO strategy in terms of the content that you have on your website. That is a great place to start understanding what people care about on a very shallow level. We're not diving deep into SEO strategy here, but you want to understand basically how the Google search results look like. Now, there's a bunch of tools for looking up the competition and doing research about who is the competition and learning more about them. I'm not going to cover all of them right now, just because they're always changing, but make sure you check the resources doc for the comprehensive list of tools, and always do the basic things like writing company name, competitors on Google. That is kind of like the basic thing, but make sure you check the resources doc for comprehensive tools. All right, the third research question is, what are the best practices? So as I've mentioned, whatever it is that we're trying to do, right? Whether we are trying to increase sales, get opt-ins, recruit, whatever our website goal is, we're probably not the first people in the world that are trying to do this. And you want to learn not just from the industry that you're working on, but probably other industries, the way that they have tackled that specific user experience in order to achieve that goal might be relevant to you, whether that is a sign-up process or a checkout process. So you want to explore how people in different industries, might be completely different products, went about trying to achieve that goal. Now, on top of that, maybe there's general research about either human psychology or best practices user experience. And there's two resources that we really like. The first one is the Nielsen Norman Group, and the second one is the Baymore Institution. For UX resources, again, check out the resources doc for links on these websites. These are generally websites that you want to constantly monitor, because they come up with really great content about best practices, about what works and what doesn't work, and you want to always be kind of up to date about these things. All right, so you went through doing your research for these three questions. Now you have to make sure that it's well documented. Now, you can do this in whatever tool works for you. The most important thing is that this tool allows you to add both images, text, because you will want to have their specific keywords, specific phrases, specific paragraph that other competitors or something like that use. And you want to make sure that it's organized and you can share this together with your clients. We're going to show you in the demo the tools that I'm using, but you can do it in whatever tool you want, as long as you can have images, text, and links within there, and it's shareable. And this actual documentation will serve both you as you design, always making sure that you're in line with the people that you're trying to design for and the audience and the best practices, but also this will serve as a lot of the discussion with the clients in terms of the look and feel and the content in the website and how we go about achieving our goals. All right, let's dive into a demo and I'll show you how I do a quick research. For the sake of this demo, let's imagine that this company Wolf Project approached me and they want to work with me. Now, these people already have a nicely designed website, but let's assume they are my clients. So what we'll try to do here is we'll try to create a persona for this brand. We'll also try to do a little bit of a market research and then dive into best practices and document them. So in this case, of course, as I've mentioned, and of course, I'm running through this fast. As always, this would probably take more time when you do this thoroughly, but I would start with talking to the client themselves about their persona. Now, just because we're doing this demo and I don't have the client, I can, because they have a good video here, I can actually learn a lot about the persona just by looking at this video. Now, here are some things that I can immediately understand. First of all, in terms of, I understand this is only for men. So gender, I got this fixed. And by the way, I'm going to use the project template that we offer you on Notion. I'm just going to use this to fill in the persona. So I'm going to start with the demographics. Gender, we know that this is a product for men. Age, I can actually see on these photos in this video that they're probably, I would say, I would probably put something like 25 to 40 in age. So I'll put 25 to 40, something like that. I would say just by looking at this video, seeing how these people dress, that they're using an Apple, product, and everything around them looks well designed and kind of premium, I can already tell these are people that probably have a good income. So I would say their income is probably, at least look at the bad where this person is lying into. So I'd probably say an income, let's start with something like 70K. And again, I would probably verify this with the client, but right now I'm just doing it on my own. And location, let's say they are now focusing, and by the way, I think I've read this, they are shipping worldwide or something like this. So probably I would say location worldwide. Now, because I want to do this as a specific persona, we'll in a minute, we'll actually make this real with a name and an actual location and an actual age. Look at what I would do. I would probably go scroll down and find their Instagram or any other social network. They do have an Instagram here. And I would try to dive into the comments and let's see. To be honest, their Instagram is not a lot of comments on these posts, but let's see who commented. So we have here this person. Let's click this and see who is this person who commented. So this is David something, menswear, digital content creator, and men's style blogger. All right, so this might be, let's use him as the actual persona here. So I'm going to take his name, and I'm going to paste it here as, so the name of this persona is going to be David, blah, 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 I don't know. He is from, where is he? Does it say where he is? Doesn't say where he is. I thought I saw New York, but not really sure where he is. Let's actually grab a photo here, a photo here that we can use as the photo for the persona. So let's screenshot this and then just drop it in here. Let's drop it here. And then what else do we need? Location, we're still not sure about the location of this person. Although look, he looks like he's in Europe or something like that. Oh, downtown Denver. All right, so this person is in Denver. All right, let's put Denver here. Man, this one looks, let's give him 29. And worldview. Now, worldview, before I can start diving into, David and see something like self-confidence, style matters. Okay, so obviously for people who are buying skincare products, probably, taking care of your body matters, right? So that is a worldview. Taking care of yourself or body matters. So that is something. Now, I can actually, one more place to learn about their worldview, specifically, I would go into their About page, and here they have a story. So this is also something that, you can learn by interviewing the founders of the company, right? Here's what the founder wrote. Simply put, I love skincare and face masks. I want to make the best products for men. So I love masks, right? I love skin masks, skin or face masks, sorry, face masks. This is something that they're just into. I'm not into that, but all right, some people are. Like you, I am a busy man. All right, so they feel like they are busy people, right? This is their worldview. It doesn't matter if it's true or not. This is what they believe, that they are busy people. They're effective, Guys, it's 2020. We want to change the misguided perception that skincare routine is only for women. Wolf is a symbol of manliness, confidence, free spirit, and nature. So I would actually take all of these things, which are actually value, manliness, confidence. Confidence is also something that we saw with David here, right? Self-confidence. All right, so this is something that seems like it's repeating itself. Confidence, free spirit, nature. I would take all of these things here into the worldview. I also noticed, looking at their website, that they did mention that this is natural, so safe ingredients. So this is, they care about how things are made. All right, so let's continue to run through this, but of course we can dive deeper, and you want to spend more time on this tech. I'm just going to write here, Apple user, just because we saw that actually, we saw that here in the video. You can dive deeper into that, but I can make the assumption of these are kind of like early adopters. I'll write early adopters, forgive my typos. Probably have good connection, internet connection. All right, so I want to move forward, but you want to keep doing this research, diving into profiles and diving through the content that you already have to learn more about their goals, frustration, what type of communities are they, where are they hanging out. So this would be a good start for the persona. All right, now let's dive into the competitive landscape. So I'm going to go here into the market research, and I'm going to go start by doing the very simple Google of men's skincare. This is the category, right? So what happens when you Google men's skincare? Let's see what comes after the ads. Esquire, best skincare routine, skincare for men, GQ, best skincare products 2021. All right, so these are probably lists, actually the best skincare, not routine, but actually best skincare product. These might be competitors. Actually, if we want to look for direct competitors, let's look for men's face masks, right? That was, I think, directly what they did, right? Yeah, now we're getting face masks for COVID, but let's add skincare because I see that this is confusing Google a little bit. 10 best face masks for men for 2021. That's probably what we're looking for. So now, bro mask. Okay, that looks like, oh, but this is actually, here's the actual website. So Jackson Lane, ridiculously good skincare for the modern men. All right, so we can start by, first of all, listing competitors, right? So I would first I would remove this note here, and I would put here Jackson Lane. I would put in the link here. I would start grabbing screenshots. Immediately I can see, for example, they're using a lot of black and white, right? This is something that matters. We have a reference here. So these people, they don't show people at the front. They do show people around here. So that might be kind of a beginning of the research. Let's drop this image here. Let's see what other products we have here. Also worth, by the way, I would specifically screenshot the logo. This kind of helps, to dive into what kind of typography they're using, what fonts they're using, just to have this as a reference here. What other brands do we have here in the skincare products? Not GQ. All right, so next one is this one. So what is this one? Ursa, I don't even know. Ursa Major. I don't even know, how to pronounce that. All right, skincare bundles. I don't know if this is for men, but this might be a competitor, right? And this one is mostly white and blue, so this looks whiter. This one is for everyone, but it's probably also a consideration, right? Like people might consider this. So I'm gonna put this here as well as another. Maybe I'll create a line just to separate them so that we have these one here. I might do a screenshot here. And then paste them here. Now, by the way, we want to pay attention to keywords, as I've mentioned, right? One thing that they used here, which might worth mentioning, is they wrote their value proposition is ridiculously, I'm gonna have a type, ridiculously good skincare. So of course, saying something ridiculously good, of course they could say very good or the best or something like this, but this is a very particular word that probably resonates with their audience. So this is an interesting way of how they've translated the worldview and the personality of their audience into a word to communicate that this is for you. These people are more focused on price, as it seems, bundle and save and those kind of things. Let's see what else do we have here. Let's go back into the 10 face masks. And then we have this one here. Let's check this one. All right, so here's another one. This looks like something a little bit different. This one has a lot of more things besides skincare, right? This is not just a skincare brand. This also has a lot of different things, but mostly for men, as it seems. Also have a very different kind of like typography. Notice here everything is kind of like serif and stuff like that. Worth looking at the art direction, how these people present their product versus the other ones. That's also something that you want to note. Here it's in context. The art direction is in your home. Here it's just like, next to one another on a clean background. This also matters. Now, one more thing that we can learn from is let's try to use SimilarWeb. SimilarWeb is a good kind of website to see competitors. Now, my gut feeling is we won't get anything if we actually look at the Wolf project, because I think this website is a bit too small. But let's try. Let's analyze this page. No, right, so they don't have this in the database. Again, I think this is too small. Let's see what happens if we take this one. I wonder if this is bigger. Yeah. All right, so this website is bigger. Now let's see what SimilarWeb is going to give us. First of all, we can understand, how much traffic they have, where their main traffic comes from. Whoa, they've got a bunch of traffics, mostly from the US, as you can see. They're getting a lot from search, so we'll see what people are searching for in a minute. Then we can see how do people find them. Now this is really interesting because these are websites that refer to them, and that might also be relevant for the Wolf project. So this is interesting data. What do people search for? So in this case, they're directly searching for the brand. Okay, so that's not really interesting. Most of their social comes from Facebook. What I'm really interested in is getting to this, competitors and similar sites. Now here, you might get a lot of things that are interesting. Maybe Sephora, I didn't think about that. We can open them up here and then we can explore these different brands or competitors. So that's how I would go about doing the market research. Now, the last thing that I would want to do is I would want to tackle kind of like the best practices. Now, in this case, this looks like an e-commerce website, right? We can shop now and we can actually buy the stuff online. So in this case, you'd probably want to do something simple as just saying e-commerce best practices 2020. That can be good, and start diving into some of the best practices just to familiarize yourself with it, and so that you'll be able to make good recommendations for your clients. All right, so to sum up this chapter, in order to do a really great design, you want to make sure that you've answered these 3 research questions. 1, who are we designing for? 2, what does the competitive landscape looks like? And 3, what are the best practices for achieving the goal? I'll see you in the next video.